The story begins in the spring of 2018 at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, home to the Army's 82nd Airborne Division. Captain Brandon Hayes, at 38, was the picture of military excellence. Sharp, disciplined, with a distinguished service record that included 2 tours in Afghanistan. His marriage to Nicole Hayes, a successful pharmaceutical sales representative, was admired throughout the military community as a model of stability and partnership. But behind the polished exterior, darkness lurked. Samantha Parker started working as Captain Hayes' administrative coordinator at the base in October 2017. At 29, she was smart, capable, and carried a devastating secret. She'd been HIV positive since a relationship in her early 20s, with a man who knew his status but didn't disclose it. The moment I met Captain Hayes, something felt off, Samantha later told investigators. The way he looked at me like I was something to consume. But I needed this job. My father was sick, bills were piling up, and the pay was too good to walk away from. The first inappropriate comment started subtly. "That uniform looks good on you, Parker. You should wear your hair down more often. Has anyone ever told you what beautiful eyes you have?" Samantha tried deflecting. "Thank you, sir. I should get back to those personnel reports." But the comments escalated to accidental touches. A hand on her lower back, fingers brushing her arm, standing too close while reviewing documents. By December, he was finding reasons to keep her late. "Parker, I need help preparing tomorrow's briefing. Could you organize these training files?" "No one will disturb us at this hour." One evening, he closed his office door. "Samantha, I think we both feel this connection. Sometimes duty brings people together for a reason." She backed away. "Captain Hayes, you're married. This isn't right." "The heart wants what it wants. Haven't you felt it too?" "I need to go." That's when he grabbed her arm. "Think carefully about your next move. A lot of people would love this position. It would be a shame if your performance reviews started suffering." Samantha pulled away, heart pounding. She had responsibilities. Her father's medical bills, her rent, her own HIV medications that insurance barely covered. The next day, she requested a transfer to the base's finance office. Denied. She asked to adjust her hours to avoid late nights. Denied. She started documenting every interaction, saving texts, recording conversations when possible. In January 2018, Captain Hayes called her into his office. "I'm concerned about your attitude lately. Perhaps this isn't the right fit anymore." "Are you firing me?" "Let's call it a mutual parting. Unless..." The implication hung heavy in the air. Samantha left in tears. That night, she stared at her HIV medication bottle, a plan forming. A terrible, vengeful plan. The next day, she called Captain Hayes. "I'm sorry about yesterday. You're right. There is a connection. Maybe we could talk about it over dinner." His eager response made her stomach turn. "I knew you'd come around. I have a discreet place in mind." As she hung up, Samantha whispered, "God forgive me." The restaurant was in Raleigh, far from their usual circles. Captain Hayes had reserved a private booth under the name David Miller. Samantha arrived wearing the blue dress he'd once complimented, her heart heavy with purpose. "You look stunning," he said, eyes traveling over her in a way that made her skin crawl. Over wine he shouldn't have been drinking while on duty. He laid out his rules. No communication through military channels. Never be seen together in public near the base. If anyone asked, she was rehired as a remote contractor. His wife was not to be mentioned. "I have a reputation to protect," he explained. "This stays between us." Samantha nodded, thinking of the voice recorder in her purse. "Of course, discretion is important to me too." The affair began that night at a boutique hotel Samantha had researched thoroughly. In North Carolina, knowingly transmitting HIV was a Class A1 misdemeanor, potentially elevated to felony assault. She needed evidence that he initiated everything, that she had no intent to harm. At first, she told him early in their employment relationship that she didn't date married men due to moral principles. She had documentation of his harassment and coercion. Most importantly, she had proof she tried to quit rather than submit to his advances. Later, lying awake in the hotel bed, she watched him sleep. Captain Brandon Hayes, pillar of the military community, serial adulterer, about to learn the hardest lesson of his life. Back at her apartment, she wrote in her journal, Day 1 of the plan. Evidence secured. Hotel receipt, voice recordings, text messages. He never asked about protection, never asked about my sexual health. Just took what he wanted, like he always does. Over the next weeks, a pattern emerged. Tuesday and Thursday evenings were training reviews. Sunday afternoons were strategic planning sessions. His wife Nicole's pharmaceutical sales work kept her traveling frequently. Samantha played her role perfectly, the reluctant military employee who'd finally given in to temptation. She let him think he was corrupting her while she documented everything. At the base, they maintained professional distance, but she noticed things now. How his eyes lingered on other young women, the private counseling sessions with junior enlisted personnel, the way he used his authority to control people. I have excellent judgment about people, he'd tell her in private. This is meant to be. She thought of the other women who must have heard those same lines over the years. March arrived with complications. Nicole Hayes started spending more time on base, watching her husband with suspicious eyes. Rumors spread about why Samantha had really returned to her job. One day, Nicole cornered her in the commissary parking lot. I've seen how he looks at you. Samantha's heart raced. Mrs. Hayes, Save it. You're not the first. Just know this. I built half of what he has. I'm not going anywhere. That night, Samantha called her sister Rachel, a nurse who knew her status. I'm in too deep. You need to stop this madness, Rachel urged. He's not worth destroying your life over. He already tried to destroy my life, tried to force me into this. Now he needs to learn actions have consequences. Meanwhile, Captain Hayes grew bolder. He started calling late at night, sending explicit texts, demanding more of her time. My wife's going to a conference in Atlanta next week, he told her after a Wednesday briefing. Come to the house. Your house? Isn't that risky? I want you in my bed. I'm tired of hotels. Samantha felt sick, but saw an opportunity. What about security cameras? Disabled them myself. No one will know. She saved that text. The next day, she had lunch with her father, who was recovering from prostate cancer. Baby, you seem troubled lately. Talk to me. Samantha forced a smile. Just work stress, Dad. Everything's fine. But nothing was fine. The weight of her revenge plot was crushing her spirit. Yet every time she considered stopping, she remembered his threats, his entitlement, his abuse of power. Discipline and duty, Captain Hayes liked to say. Indeed. The spring heat matched the intensity of the affair. Captain Hayes grew increasingly reckless, taking risks that made Samantha's evidence gathering easier. His ego convinced him he was untouchable. Their first time at his house felt surreal. Samantha sat in her car outside the elegant military housing unit, recording a timestamp on her phone. April 9th, 2018, 7:30 p.m., entering Captain Hayes' residence at his insistence. All security cameras confirmed disabled. The master bedroom felt like a violation. Family photos on the walls, Nicole's robe hanging in the bathroom, her perfume on the dresser. Captain Hayes didn't seem to notice or care. Afterward, lying in his wife's bed, Samantha asked carefully, Aren't you worried about diseases and stuff? He laughed. I'm a soldier. We get tested regularly. The Army protects its officers. She documented that statement too. By May, Samantha noticed the first signs. Captain Hayes complained of fatigue during their encounters. Night sweats left his sheets damp. A persistent low-grade fever made him irritable. Must be that spring flu going around, he said, popping Tylenol. She watched him deteriorate with clinical detachment, recording every symptom. Swollen lymph nodes he blamed on stress. Body aches dismissed as PT injuries. Low-grade fevers attributed to North Carolina's humidity. Night sweats he linked to bad dreams. Weight loss he celebrated as successful dieting. During this time, his demands intensified. The power dynamic shifted as his health declined. He needed her more, trusted her more. She became his confidant, the keeper of his secrets. "Sometimes I think you're the only one who really knows me," he told her one night. If he only knew. At the base, subtle changes appeared. His sharp briefings grew shorter. He took more breaks, drank more water. The unit whispered about his gaunt appearance. "Captain's working too hard. That new PT routine is too extreme. He needs leave." Nicole noticed too. Samantha overheard her in his office. "Brandon, something's wrong. You need to see a doctor." "I'm fine, woman. Stop nagging." But he wasn't fine. By June, the symptoms were undeniable. During one of their hotel meetings, he could barely perform, his body racked with chills. "Maybe we should take you to the ER," Samantha suggested, knowing what they'd find. "No hospitals. Just need rest." She wrote in her journal that night, "The virus is taking hold. He's experiencing classic acute HIV symptoms but refuses to acknowledge anything's wrong. His pride will be his downfall." Meanwhile, military politics intensified. His executive officer started handling more briefings. The battalion commander called emergency meetings. Unit morale dropped as people could sense something was off with their company commander. Samantha maintained her professional facade, but inside she felt hollow. The weight of her actions haunted her. During morning formations, during their intimate moments, during quiet nights alone with her thoughts. She attended HIV support group meetings, sharing carefully edited versions of her story. "I'm watching someone experience what I went through, but I can't help them." The group leader, an older woman named Miss Clara, seemed to see right through her. "Revenge might feel sweet at first, baby, but it poisons the soul." June brought more complications. Captain Hayes' symptoms became impossible to hide. During a battalion formation, he nearly collapsed in front of the troops. The incident went viral on military social media. Nicole finally put her foot down. "Either you see a doctor or I'm calling one to the house." He chose a private clinic in Durham, far from prying eyes. Samantha knew what would happen next. She'd planned for it meticulously. The call came on a Tuesday evening. "I need to see you. It's urgent." His voice sounded broken. The private room at Duke University Hospital felt small, despite its modern accommodations. Captain Hayes sat on the edge of his bed in civilian clothes, medical charts scattered around him. His usual commanding presence had crumbled. "HIV positive," he said, voice hollow. "How is this possible?" Samantha maintained her practiced look of shock. "What? No, there must be a mistake. 3 tests, all positive, plus pneumonia starting in my lungs." His hands shook as he held the lab results. "I'm a soldier. We get tested annually. This doesn't happen to officers." She watched him spiral through the stages of denial in real time. "The tests are wrong. Someone at the lab made a mistake. This is sabotage. Someone's targeting me." Finally, the question she'd been waiting for. "You need to get tested." Samantha pulled out her phone, displaying the HIV test results she'd gotten last week. Another piece of evidence showing she'd been responsible enough to get checked. "Negative," she said. "I'm clean." His relief was visible, followed immediately by suspicion. "Then how—" She watched the wheels turn in his mind as he mentally scrolled through other possibilities, other women. Because, of course, there were other women. That night, Nicole came to the hospital. Samantha listened outside the private room. "What do you mean, HIV? Brandon, I've been faithful for 15 years. Nicole, please, don't you dare lie to me, not now. How many were there?" "I don't—" "How many?" The argument continued until security asked Nicole to lower her voice. She stormed out, mascara streaking her face, nearly running into Samantha. "Here to check on your captain?" Diane's voice dripped venom. "Little late for office hours, isn't it?" Samantha stepped back. "Mrs. Hayes, I was just dropping off some personnel files." "Save it. I know what you've been filing." She moved closer. "But here's what you don't know. I've had private investigators following Brandon for months. Every hotel, every meeting, every lunch date, I have pictures." Samantha's heart raced. "Mrs. Hayes, I was gathering evidence for divorce court. Now I'm gathering it for military justice and criminal court. Because someone gave my husband HIV, and when I find out who—" She let the threat hang. After Nicole left, Samantha sat in her car, hands shaking. This wasn't part of the plan. Private investigators meant photos, surveillance, evidence that could implicate her. She called Rachel. "The wife knows about the affair, has proof." "Jesus, Sam, this is getting dangerous." It was always dangerous. "You need a lawyer." "Not yet. If I lawyer up now, it looks suspicious." That night she couldn't sleep. The weight of her actions crushed her chest. She thought about Miss Clara's words at the support group. Revenge poisons the soul. But wasn't that the point? To make him feel the poison she'd felt? The next few days brought chaos. Captain Hayes checked out of the hospital against medical advice. Emergency commander meetings ran late into the night. Nicole moved out of their base housing into an apartment in Fayetteville. Local news vans camped outside Fort Bragg's gates. Unit cohesion suffered as rumors spread. Samantha maintained her routine, playing the concerned administrator. She attended staff meetings where they discussed the captain's health challenges. She helped craft careful statements about him taking medical leave. But inside, storms raged. Every cough, every wince of pain from Captain Hayes needled her conscience. She watched him struggle with medication side effects, knowing exactly what he was feeling. One evening, he called her to his office. He looked gray, exhausted. "I need you to be honest with me." Her pulse quickened. "About what?" "The past year, did you know about any of the others? Did they ever say anything?" The irony almost made her laugh. "No, sir, I never knew about anyone else." He nodded, defeated. "I've ruined everything. My career, my marriage, my life." "The military believes in redemption," she said, the words tasting like ash. "Does it? For this?" She left him there, staring out his office window at the North Carolina pine trees. In her car, she screamed until her throat hurt. The first newspaper headline hit like a bomb. "Fort Bragg officer steps down amid health and scandal rumors." The Fayetteville Observer article was careful, citing unnamed sources claiming Captain Hayes had HIV and multiple affairs. The comment section exploded with speculation and judgment. More coverage followed. Military unit in crisis. Officer's illness raises questions. Nicole Hayes files for divorce, cites irreconcilable differences. Fort Bragg scandal impacts unit morale. The police became involved after Nicole filed a criminal complaint alleging intentional HIV transmission. Detective Marcus Williams from the Fayetteville Police Department's Special Crimes Unit took the lead. Williams was a veteran investigator, 20 years on the force, the last 8 handling sensitive cases involving military personnel. He knew Fort Bragg could be a powder keg of secrets. His first interview was with Nicole Hayes. "When did you first suspect your husband was unfaithful?" "Suspect? I've known for years. Brandon got sloppy, lipstick stains, late nights, mysterious charges. But I built this life with him. Leaving meant losing everything we'd worked for. And now? Now someone tried to kill him with HIV. That changes things." Williams reviewed her private investigator's files. The surveillance photos showed Captain Hayes with multiple women over 8 months, but Samantha appeared most frequently. Next, he interviewed base personnel. The pattern became clear. Young, attractive women hired as coordinators or assistants. lasting a few months before quietly transferring. Former administrative assistant Jennifer Thompson broke down during questioning. He said military officers had special privileges, that physical comfort was part of mentorship. I was fresh out of college, vulnerable. When I threatened to report him, he said no one would believe me over a decorated officer. Williams compiled a list of potential victims. Jennifer Thompson, 2015. Kimberly Peters, 2016. Angela Wilson, 2017. Samantha Parker, 2017, 2018. Plus at least 4 others who refused to talk. But Samantha stood out. She was the only one who returned after leaving, the only one present during the HIV diagnosis, the only one still working closely with Captain Hayes. Williams requested her employment records. The pattern was suspicious. Hired, October 2017. Resigned, January 2018. Rehired, February 2018 as special coordinator. Salary doubled after rehiring. He interviewed her at the station. Miss Parker, why did you return to work for Captain Hayes after resigning? Samantha stayed calm. He offered better terms. I had bills to pay. Including private meetings at hotels? I'm not sure what you're implying. We have photos, Miss Parker. The Hilton in Raleigh, his house. She leaned forward. Do you have photos of him threatening my job? Of him cornering me in his office? Or just the parts that make me look like a homewrecker? Williams noted her defensive posture. When were you diagnosed with HIV? That's private medical information. Not with a criminal investigation pending. Samantha called her newly hired lawyer, Vernon Walsh, ending the interview. Outside, Williams told his partner, she's hiding something, but so is everyone else in this mess. The investigation expanded. Williams subpoenaed phone records, hotel receipts, military personnel files, medical records, surveillance footage. A pattern emerged through financial records, regular cash withdrawals by Captain Hayes, payments to various women coded as training expenses, a secret account funding hotel rooms and gifts. But the HIV transmission timeline proved harder to establish. Multiple women meant multiple possible sources. Testing would be necessary, but many refused to cooperate. Meanwhile, Captain Hayes' health deteriorated. The medications helped, but stress and shame took their toll. He lost 35 pounds. His dark skin turned ashen. Rumors spread that he was dying. Nicole's divorce filing became public record, detailing 15 years of infidelity, misuse of military resources, emotional abuse, sexual misconduct, abuse of authority. The military finally acted. The battalion commander initiated a formal investigation under Article 32 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. The announcement sparked divisions within the military community. Captain Hayes needs support, not condemnation. Judge not. But others celebrated. About time someone stopped him. How many careers did he destroy? The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Rachel, Samantha's sister, couldn't live with the guilt anymore. She walked into Detective Williams's office early one August morning. I have information about Captain Hayes' HIV infection. Williams leaned forward. I'm listening. Rachel's hands shook as she spoke. My sister Samantha, she's been positive since 2014. She told me about Captain Hayes harassing her, threatening her job. When she went back to work for him, she paused. She knew what she was doing. She intentionally infected him. She called it justice, said he needed to learn how it felt to be violated. Williams pulled out his case file. We need this on record. Start from the beginning. Rachel detailed conversations spanning months. Samantha's initial harassment complaints, the forced resignation, the revenge plan, the affair's deliberate initiation, the documented symptoms. She kept journals, Rachel added. Everything's written down, dates, times, symptoms. She wanted proof it came from her. After Rachel left, Williams called the DA's office. This was now a clear case of felony assault with intent to transmit HIV, potentially carrying 10 to 20 years. But they needed those journals. The search warrant was executed at Samantha's apartment while she was at the base. Detectives found 4 notebooks detailing the affair, recorded conversations on USB drives, a folder of hotel receipts, screenshots of text messages, Captain Hayes' medical timeline. The most damning evidence came from her personal journal, January 18, 2018. He fired me today for refusing him. Thinks he can throw me away like trash. But I have something for him. A gift that keeps on giving. February 10th, 2018. Started the plan today. He's so eager, so careless. Never even asked about protection. His arrogance will be his downfall. April 30th, 2018. First symptoms showing. He's too proud to see a doctor, just like I was too ashamed when it happened to me. June 25th, 2018. Diagnosis confirmed. He cried like a baby. Where was this humanity when he was destroying other women's lives? Williams arranged surveillance on Samantha. She seemed to sense the net tightening, changed her routine, switched cars with friends, made calls from prepaid phones, met with her lawyer frequently. The base atmosphere grew tenser. Anonymous letters appeared in the administrative office. Parker has HIV. Check the coordinator's medical records. She did this on purpose. Nicole Hayes' private investigators connected more dots. Samantha's regular HIV clinic visits in Durham, her support group attendance, medical records showing her 2014 diagnosis, credit card charges for HIV medications. Then came another witness. Angela Wilson, a former victim of Captain Hayes, came forward. Samantha told me her plan last winter. I didn't stop her. Maybe that makes me guilty too, but after what he did to me, to all of us, I understood. Did she specifically mention infecting him? She said he thinks HIV is punishment for sin. Let's test that theory. The DA's office prepared charges. The evidence was substantial. Rachel's testimony, the journals, medical records, surveillance photos, witness statements, recorded conversations. But the case was sensitive. A prominent military officer, a violated woman's revenge. The racial and gender politics were explosive. Local media caught wind of the investigation's direction. Officer's HIV infection may be criminal act base coordinator under investigation. Revenge plot rocks Fort Bragg community. The military community divided. Some supported Samantha. He had it coming. Others defended the captain. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Many just wanted it to go away. This makes us all look bad. They arrested Samantha after duty hours, waiting until she left the base to avoid a scene. Detective Williams approached her in the parking lot. Samantha Parker, you're under arrest for felony assault with intent to transmit HIV. She didn't resist, just smiled sadly and said, I wondered when you'd figure it out. The charges were formal. 1-count felony assault, Class C 1-count, criminal transmission of HIV 1-count reckless conduct. Bail was set at $300,000. The base legal assistance office helped pay it anonymously. Her lawyer, Vernon Walsh, crafted their defense strategy around 3 points: prior sexual harassment and coercion. Captain Hayes' history of predatory behavior. No definitive proof she was the source of infection. The arraignment drew media attention. Samantha wore a conservative Navy suit, hair pulled back severely. Captain Hayes attended in civilian clothes, looking frail. Assistant DA Sarah Rodriguez laid out the state's case. The defendant methodically planned to infect the victim with HIV. She documented her intentions, tracked his symptoms. This was calculated biological assault. Walsh countered, my client was sexually harassed, coerced, and threatened by a man who abused his authority. If transmission occurred, it was during acts he initiated through corruption of power. The judge set a trial date for November 2018. Meanwhile, civil suits multiplied. Nicole Hayes sued Samantha for alienation of affection. Base personnel filed complaints over exposure risk. Former victims sued the Army for enabling abuse. The military launched its own investigation into systemic failures. September brought complications. More women came forward with stories of Captain Hayes' abuse spanning years. But they also revealed something crucial: other HIV exposures. Detective Williams interviewed Kimberly Peters. He infected me in 2016. I was too ashamed to report it. Angela Wilson. I tested positive 4 months after our affair ended in 2017. The timeline suddenly blurred. Had Samantha infected Captain Hayes, or had he already been positive, infecting her and others? DNA testing of the virus could prove transmission direction, but samples from 2014 weren't available. The scientific evidence was inconclusive. Captain Hayes held a press conference. I admit my failures. I failed as a husband, an officer, and a man. But I never intended to harm anyone. What Miss Parker did was calculated evil. Samantha's support group rallied around her. Miss Clara spoke to reporters. That man preyed on vulnerable women for years. The real crime is how long the military protected him. The case sparked national debates about HIV criminalization laws, military accountability, sexual abuse in armed forces, the ethics of revenge power dynamics in hierarchical institutions. October brought pretrial motions. Defense wanted to admit Captain Hayes' abuse history, military cover-up documents, victim testimony spanning 10 years. Evidence of other HIV exposures, prosecution sought to exclude. Prior sexual harassment claims, military politics, Nicole Hayes' private investigator findings. Other victims' HIV status. The judge allowed most evidence, ruling the pattern of behavior was relevant to state of mind. As the trial approached, both sides felt the weight of what was at stake. This wasn't just about HIV transmission anymore, it was about power, justice, revenge, and redemption. The trial opened on a cold North Carolina morning. News vans lined Bragg Boulevard. Protesters on both sides carried signs. Justice for victims. HIV is not a weapon, military corruption. Kills pray for Captain Hayes. Inside, Assistant DA Rodriguez began. This case is about intentional harm. The defendant weaponized her HIV status to punish a man she blamed for her pain. She documented every step, every symptom, watching him suffer with calculated satisfaction. Vernon Walsh responded, "This case is about power and predation. Brandon Hayes used his position to abuse women for years. When one fought back, he called it crime. But you'll hear how he infected others long before Samantha Parker entered his life." The prosecution's case seemed strong. Rachel's testimony about Samantha's plan, the detailed journals, medical records, surveillance photos, recorded conversations. But cross-examination revealed complexities. Rachel cracked under questioning. Did your sister explicitly say she intended to infect Captain Hayes? Not exactly. She said he needed to understand the consequences. The medical timeline proved problematic. Dr. Sarah Chen, infectious disease specialist, testified, "Given multiple sexual partners and the virus's mutation rate, we cannot definitively determine who infected whom. The pattern suggests Captain Hayes may have been positive before 2018. Former victims strengthened the defense. Kimberly Peters described her 2016 infection. He refused protection, said military officers were tested regularly, that we were safe. When I tested positive, he ghosted me. The military paid me to stay quiet. Angela Wilson's 2017 experience echoed this. After my diagnosis, he said I must have gotten it from someone else. Called me reckless, threatened to ruin my career if I talked. The prosecution's timeline unraveled. If Hayes infected others in 2016 and 2017, he couldn't have gotten HIV from Samantha in 2018. Diane Mitchell's testimony proved unexpectedly helpful to the defense. Brandon had symptoms before Samantha came back to work. Night sweats, weight loss. I thought it was stress. He refused doctors then too. The journals remained damaging. Walsh addressed them directly. Miss Parker, please explain these entries. Samantha spoke publicly for the first time. I was angry, humiliated. He used his power to abuse me, then discarded me. The journals were revenge fantasy, but I didn't give him HIV. He gave it to me, like he gave it to others. Why return to work for him? To gather evidence, to prove his pattern. The affair was wrong, but I wanted proof of what he did to women. The prosecution struggled to prove intent without clear transmission evidence. The case weakened. Then came the military documents, years of complaints, payoffs, and cover-ups. Battalion commander memos showing they knew about HIV exposures but kept quiet to protect unit readiness. The jury deliberated for 5 days. The verdict, not guilty on all counts. The judge addressed Samantha. While your actions showed poor judgment, the evidence doesn't support criminal charges. This case highlights the complexity of power, abuse, and retribution in our institutions. Aftermath. The ripple effect spread through the military community. Fort Bragg initiated comprehensive reforms to harassment reporting procedures. Captain Hayes was court-martialed on separate charges, receiving a dishonorable discharge and loss of all benefits. Nicole Hayes' divorce settled out of court. The military paid confidential settlements to multiple victims. Several officers in the chain of command faced disciplinary action for failing to address complaints. State lawmakers proposed reforms to HIV criminalization laws, recognizing the complexity of transmission cases involving coercion and abuse. Samantha left North Carolina, moving to Seattle to start fresh. Her final journal entry read, "The truth is messy. We were all victims and villains. He destroyed lives with his abuse. I wanted revenge but found only emptiness. May God forgive us all." Miss Clara's words proved prophetic. Revenge had poisoned everyone it touched. The story became a cautionary tale about power, sexuality, and accountability in hierarchical institutions. But for those involved, it was about human frailty, the capacity for both cruelty and compassion, destruction and redemption.